Dear students of class 12, today we are going to find the electric field due to a uniformly charged straight wire which is very long. Now we also consider that the wire is very thin. So let us start talking the topic. You see here I have drawn the picture of a wire and that is being positively charged. We have assumed you can take negatively charged rod as well, and we also consider that the linear charge density for this wire is lambda, means there is lambda charge in unit length of the wire. Now we consider any point P where we have to find the electric field due to this uniformly charged long wire. Here, if this distance of point P is R from the wire, then we consider that this R is much smaller as compared to the length of the wire. This condition is very much vital because our derivation will not be valid if this condition is not satisfied. So here we consider that the wire is very long, and as compared to the distance at which we want to find the electric field due to this wire. So now let us start. Consider that we have considered a point P which is at r distance from the wire. We consider a Gaussian surface which is cylindrical. Now we have not drawn it as big as we have assumed, because of avoiding the complexity in the diagram, overlapping of the diagram. So here, though the radius of this cylinder is taken to be r itself, but we haven't drawn it as big to avoid the mixing of the two diagrams together. So that means now we consider the cylindrical Gaussian surface whose length is L and radius is R. So the length of the Gaussian surface we have taken to be L and its radius is R. We haven't drawn it accordingly, but you have to bear it in your mind. Now according to the Gauss law, we have that total electric flux associated with any closed surface is always 1 by epsilon times the total charge enclosed by the surface. So here we have a Gaussian surface, cylindrical, and in unit length we have lambda charge. So if the cylinder is having length L, therefore we will have total charge lambda into L. So for Qn, that is total charge enclosed, we write lambda L. So let us call this equation number 1. Here we are using epsilon naught because it is the case of air medium. Now we have also defined the basic definition of electric flux is that electric flux is E dot ds. Integral E dot ds means electric field, and this is the area vector ds. So for the whole cylindrical surface, Gaussian surface, we can divide the integration in two parts. Integration for the flat surface of the cylinder and integration for the curved surface of the cylinder. These are the curved surface. You know these are the curved surface, and these two, top one and bottom one, are the flat surfaces of the cylinder. So for these two parts, now we have, in this case for flat surface, you see the electric field, as the electric field is perpendicular to the surface, means the area vector for the surface will be perpendicular in this direction, and the electric field for this place will be perpendicular to it for flat surface. So they are at 90 degree to each other, because the electric field is at perpendicular direction to the wire. Now we have to prove it, how it is that we can say that electric field is perpendicular to the wire. Now for that, let us take a simplified approach. We take a charge, let us call it charge 0, which is at a minimum distance from the P and lies on the line perpendicular to the wire and joining and passing through the point P. So for this point, for this charge, say charge 0, charge naming, we have named it 0, it is not 0 as actually. So for this central charge, you can say central charge, we have some electric field due to this individual charge acting produced at point P, which is essentially perpendicular to the wire, because you know if we have a test charge Q, delta Q over here at point P, and this charge will be repelling it away from the wire and along the direction perpendicular to the wire. So certainly the central charge is producing electric field which is perpendicular to the wire. Now this is now, it should be clear to you right now. But now we consider a symmetrical charge on the either side of the central charge. Say for example, first charge we call it charge number 1, symmetrical to central charge. We have another charge number 1 in the lower part and similarly in the upper part. Now for the upper part and lower part, we have, if they are at equal distance from the central charge, then what will happen? They will produce also some electric field over here, but their magnitude, though electric field, will be there in different direction due to the lower charge 1 and upper charge 1. But the magnitude of these two electric fields will be equal because they are at same distance from the point P. You can understand this case. Say for example, we are talking about two equidistant points. Then they will be making same angle with at point P with the central line, and also their magnitudes will be equal. As their magnitudes are equal and their angle made with the central line is equal, therefore their vertical components will cancel each other, means even sine theta, let us say it is theta 1, that this electric field is making with the central line, then those two vertical components, one produced by the lowermost charge, the lower charge, say E1, will be in vertically upward direction, and that by the upper charge, say E1 dash, and due to upper charge will have vertically downward component. But since they are having same magnitude, same angle inclination, so they cancel each other. So that means the vertical components are cancelled and only the horizontal components, that is E1 cos theta 1 survives. Horizontal components survive and their vertical components cancel. So this will be true for all such symmetrical charges distributed about the central charge. That means we will have no vertical component surviving in because for every charge above the central charge we can have a symmetrical charge in the lower part of the wire. As a result, we will always be left with the horizontal component of their electric field, and we don't have any vertical component surviving. So that means the electric field due to the whole wire will be essentially perpendicular to the wire, because we have considered the wire to be infinitely long, so we don't have the dearth of having shortage of any symmetrical charge diffusion. We will always have some charge at same distance above the central charge, and same charge at same distance below the central charge. So that way we can say that the electric field due to the straight wire will be essentially perpendicular to the wire. Now we come to our original approach. We were to find the electric flux, and then for that we have to integrate over the cylindrical surface, and that we have divided for curved surface and flat surface. For flat surface, you see they are at 90 degree, and for curved surface the electric field and area vector both are at along same direction. Therefore for flat surface the integral will be 0. Here we have given you the logic, and for the curved surface this will be E dot, the magnitude of E into magnitude of ds. Since the electric field is constant at this point, therefore at r distance from the wire, therefore we take it out of integration, and then we are left with the integral of ds, means area vector. So the total area vector of this cylinder we can know, we can write is 2 pi r into L will be the total surface area, curved surface area of the cylinder. So that way flux, electric flux becomes E into 2 pi r L. Let us call it equation number 2. On equating these two, we get electric field due to the wire, which is infinitely long and uniformly charged and very thin, and the distance considered from the wire is very much less as compared to the length of the wire, is equal to lambda upon 2 pi r epsilon naught. And of course it is away from the wire if the wire is positively charged and perpendicular to the wire. We have just discussed this, and so from this expression we also see, we have called it equation number 3. From equation number 3 we also see that electric field is always inversely proportional to the distance of the point considered from the wire where we have to find the electric field. And for if the wire is positively charged, it will be essentially always perpendicular to the wire and away from the positively charged wire. In case we have a negatively charged wire, then in that case what we have is the electric field will again remain perpendicular to the wire. Means if the wire is in vertical direction, then the electric field will be along horizontal direction. But if the wire is negatively charged, then in that case the electric field will be towards the wire and perpendicular to the wire. So this is all what we intend to learn today. That's all for today. Thank you and have a nice day.